Welcome to the Palette Talks podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Palette Talks podcast. This is your host, Jason, and today I'm just super thrilled because I'm going to have a conversation with one of the most amazing artists out there, especially in the lo-fi scene, because I'm joined by Ari. Hey, man, welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so flattered. Thank you so much. I try.
Yes.
How are
So
you?
how are you feeling today, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We just got back from San Diego. We're working with a couple of other artists down there. I don't know if you've heard of Imaginary Ambition. He's not really in the lo-fi scene, but he did make a video a little bit a while like 2 years ago. I think it was a how-to lo-fi video, and it blew up a little bit. It was when the lo-fi scene was first starting to come up. So he's also a producer, and we wanted to work with him. So we were down there the whole weekend. Got back.
Awesome. So you have such an amazing, productive weekend, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. We got a lot done.
Yeah.
How are
So
you, man?
I'm doing really well, honestly. Things are just doing great. I've been just spending a lot of time with my friends, just having that work-life balance,
That's
balancing
awesome.
things out, especially on the holiday seasons as well.
Yeah,
Doing
it's
well.
really important to maintain. That's cool, man.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that later. Um, But I think to start it out, as usual, I think it would be great to, just provide some context to people out there about you.
hmm
So could you introduce yourself to the audience? Just who are you, where you're from, and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So I go by Ari. It is the letter R and E and a colon. And I've actually never really spoken on why I picked that name. But it's short for regarding. Kind of like when you get like an email and it's like a forward email and it just says Ari, 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 Ari over and over and
Mm.
over. Yeah. I came up with the name when I was working. I used to work in like tech. So I used to work for Google, and I was never really like referred to by name. I was just referred
Mm.
to as an email consistently, you know. So I think I came up with it when I got really frustrated that like no one really knew me, and I was just doing a bunch of stuff for um for other people, and I just got tired of that. So I decided I would do something for myself, and ironically, I ended up picking a name that someone else picked for me, I guess. Um, but my name is Will. I am from San Diego. I guess I make lo-fi music, but I don't just make lo-fi hip hop. I make lo-fi everything, whether that be indie, punk. I recently started to touch on a little bit on like auto-tune rap, which is not really my taste, but it's really fun to make. Um, so I'm kind of all over the place when it comes to genres. But California is my home. I'm in LA now. About me.
Yeah, that's an awesome introduction. So, why don't we just start from the beginning? Like, can you share your journey of how did it all start? How did Ari, came by? Like, what was the story behind Ari?
Sure. So I started making music in March of this year, 2019. But or at least that's when I put out my first song. And that was actually Sleepy Dead Part Two. And the reason it's called Part Two is because I had actually tried to start in December of last year. When I was still living in San Francisco, I wanted to make like I don't know, I wanted to make something like what I was listening to at the time. And a lot of what I was listening to at the time was like, X and like Lil Peep and stuff like that. But and those are my current inspirations at the time, and I ended up not really pursuing it because I was still in San Francisco, and it was just not really a great environment. But I chose to get out of that environment pretty early on in the year. This year, I moved to LA, and once I got down here, I immediately got to work, and I did go back to try to fix Sleepy Dead. But what ended up happening was it became a completely new song, and that's when I met Neb. Um, and
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta mention Neb, by the way. Neb is my day one. He is the first artist that I ever got in touch with.
Wow.
That yeah, no, he's like the most supportive person I've ever met, man. Like I think I reached out to him like when I first put out my like the first song that I made that I didn't really like in December. I sent it to him directly, because I never put it out. And he was the one that was like, "Yo, this is really good. We should make something." And then from there on, I just started making stuff with him, and it was funny because I think you remember my handle used to be Lil QB. It was a joke,
Yeah.
but it stuck for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to change that pretty soon. But
Mm,
yeah, I technically like I came up with the idea when I was just really like I guess not in a good headspace last year. I was in a really toxic environment and I was really kind of feeling alone. And I felt like music was something that I could connect with. And what ended up happening was that music ended up connecting me with everybody else. And that's kind of why I stuck with it. Like the biggest reason for me was the emotional support, man. It's like joining a community of people who feel like you and want to make things like you. It's the best feeling. So I just ran with it.
yeah, and you know what's actually interesting is that I think, if I'm not wrong, is that I
Hmm.
discovered you from Sleepy Dad Part 2 because I got in touch with Nep earlier,
Hmm.
and then Nep hit me up and said that he got this song Sleepy Dad Part 2 with this Lil QB, right? And Snow, and so I was like, oh, and then like I just realized that that's how I found you, through Nep, and he's such an amazing guy. Got a new release coming up soon as well, so
He
super
does,
excited for it.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so throughout this journey as being an artist, and you've been just trying different genres, and I think that's something
Hmm.
that's actually fun to do, because you don't want the same stuff, over and over, but you want to just
Hmm.
try something different, something fresh, something new. So, like, what have you been picking up lately? Like, what have been like in your minds, like the ones that you really want to do the most, the genres that you want to do?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, let me mention a little about like what I've made so far, just so I kind of like count down the checklist. I don't know if you oh actually you do know because you posted these songs. Thank you so much for that, by the way.
Yeah,
You posted Mentiras Amor, which was the first song that I made in Spanish. I decided I'm gonna make something different than what I was hearing in the lo-fi scene, and I hadn't heard anything
yeah,
in Spanish and lo-fi yet, so I wanted to make something like that. And obviously, I reached out to my man Neb. He hopped on it right away.
yeah,
And it's funny because our third song just came out. It's called Six Zans, and it's pretty different. Like it's almost completely different. I would even say that I veer a little more into like emo punk, and he veers a little more into like trap,
mm,
which is different for both of us because he's very much a lo-fi rapper, and I'm very much a indie vocalist. So it was kind of like a weird like mesh, but it came out to be a really cool song, and it's probably one of my favorite songs I've made so far. And I think it's going to be on the EP actually, if I'm not mistaken, the one that's coming out in January.
so you got it.
As far
Yeah,
as oh, go ahead.
sorry.
Sorry.
No, no, no.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
As far as stuff that I want to make still, like I mentioned, I was hopping into like autotune rap. I really want to try that stuff out just for a little bit, because it is a lot of fun to make, and I do know a lot of like producers and artists in that, like I guess in that scene. So I've been working on that stuff. And next I want to make another song in Spanish, but I want to make like a ballad, something slower, something a little more. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been really feeling like slowing down my music recently, like making it a little more like palatable for like chill situations. And I don't know. I want to make something that I can listen to all the time for any situation.
Yeah, and like I just realized, I actually know an amazing rapper, and he's got this like what makes him really authentic is of because of autotune rap, and his
Hmm.
name is Afterthought. He's actually the first guest of the podcast, and he's got really
Dope.
amazing um music out there, and he raps like with autotune, and that's something that he's really proud of because like it's what makes him like authentic, and that's like part of his identity, part of his music. So you should
Hmm.
probably check him out and maybe hit him up as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely hit him up. Please send me that stuff after.
Yeah, yeah, sure, man. um yeah, so throughout this journey, let's talk about ups and downs, because I
Hmm.
believe that life is like a roller coaster. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down, and it's just like that's life. But
Hmm.
throughout this journey, what have been your biggest challenges, your biggest obstacles that you faced, as an artist or maybe as a person?
definitely. So I I pride myself in being a very level-headed person. I'm a little bit older. I started frankly very late at this. I'm actually 25.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, so this is something that I started very late, very much after I'd already completed my first career. I mentioned that I'd worked at Google before and a couple of other tech companies as a photographer and in visual design. Um, but starting this from scratch, something that I felt like helped me be prepared for the ups and downs was the fact that I've kind of already done this before. When I was 16, I started as a photographer, shooting small gigs, and it went from little things to bigger things to shoots to being published on a magazine to being shown to tech companies to just building out an entire career, and that took years. That took me almost a decade to accumulate and to really get working. So I feel like one of the biggest things that you have to understand as an artist is you have to be patient with not just yourself, but with people around you, and you have to be passionate about creating for yourself. Because if you don't, it's so easy to drop off. It's so easy when you're making things that aren't for you and they're for other people for you to just get tired and not want to do it anymore. So I feel like that helped me a lot, but that didn't help me completely. There are things in music that are very different to other industries, and one of those is how you go about networking. Um, just because there are so many people in music and so many different kinds of personalities and so many different kinds of cultures and so many different ways of getting in touch with people, that it is hard to navigate sometimes, like who to reach out to for what, and at the end of the day, none of us can really do any of this stuff alone,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of very, very independent artists that will self-produce and write all their own lyrics and do all their own mixing and stuff, but those are very few and far between. Most of us are either just vocalists or just producers. We need a team. Like, we need to work with people. We need to be a part of a community if we want to succeed at this. And that was the biggest challenge for me because I thought I could do it on my own. And then I realized, like, why would I want to when I have help? People that want to and are willing to help. So that's kind of been like the biggest new thing for me is figuring out how to meet people in this industry and forging really good relationships.
Yeah, and uh, networking is definitely an important thing for every aspect of lives, every aspect
Hmm.
of industries, and but music is definitely one of a kind. It's a creative outlet, right? So
Hmm.
it's something that feels more abstract-ish, and it's really hard to like figure who are the right people and who actually, the people that can support you, who are the people that you can support. Just finding the right mix of people, I think it will be an incredible challenge, especially you as a musical creative. So I
Hmm.
think that's a really interesting take about one of your biggest obstacles. But before, I would love to talk about networking, but before we go into that, I would love to know about how did you end up in Google, if you don't mind? Like, it's
Yeah, sure.
that's something unique, Yeah.
Funny enough, the story of how I started working at Google is honestly the story of why I started making music. So I'll try to structure it for you in a way that isn't too long. But so I mentioned that I was freelancing and I was doing a lot of stuff on my own, as a photographer and even some gigs as a videographer. But that ended kind of in 2016. I think I was 22 at the time. I met this girl that I was crazy about, and it's always about a girl, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she was going to school in Santa Cruz, and I was living in San Diego at the time, and that's like an 8-hour drive. So it was a very hard relationship to maintain. And within the first month, I ended up moving to San Francisco so I could be closer, and I got that job at Google. But the way that I got that job at Google is so funny because I never applied for it. What I actually did was I got very inebriated one night, and I applied to a lot of jobs that I wasn't gonna get. Things like engineer or like app development or like
Uh,
marketing analyst, just stuff that I could never have done because I went to school
mm,
for journalism photography. Just it was never gonna happen. But somebody saw one of my applications for a job that I definitely wasn't gonna get. and they saw my portfolio attached, and they looked at it, and they liked it, and they liked my photos, they liked my work, they liked what I was doing, and they liked that I was different. And at the time, Google was going through a really big change with their whole new like hardware division. They were putting out like phones and stuff. So they really needed someone to help make that stuff look good, create an image for Google that would be consistent, that would be pretty, that would be attractive for people to want to buy their stuff rather than just use their services. So I like I said, I didn't even apply for that job. The job was never posted, but somebody saw it and they thought that I would be perfect for that. They reached out. I thought it was a prank when I first got the call.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, an interview this Friday? Okay, sure, buddy, sure."
Right.
And then it was real. I had a FaceTime, well, not a
Wow.
FaceTime call, sorry, a Hangouts call that Friday morning, and it was with someone from actual Google, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually happening." So in that same day, I got the job on the spot. I quit my job at the time. I was selling cell phones at like a mall. I just quit on everything. I got a brand new car, and I was just like, I'm moving to SF, and I moved to SF, and the reason that I feel like I don't regret doing everything that I did by moving was because I got a lot out of it, a lot of experience meeting and networking with people in the tech scene, and even a lot of artists that I would later, come to want to work with in music as well. Um, I really I love what I did, and I love that I went up there. But the reason I did it was for a person, and I think that just like in music, man, when you're doing things for other people, it never ends up working well for you. Even if it's good,
Mm.
it doesn't matter if it's good. It doesn't matter if people like what you're doing. If you're doing it for someone else, you get burned out, and that's exactly what happens. I moved to a city where I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any family or anyone there. I just had her. She was there for school, so she had her own life type stuff, right? So by the time that I felt like I'd lost everything. My dad passed away when he was back home, and I was up there. I wasn't able to be there for that. Just a lot of stuff happened, and it ended up becoming a breakup, and that's when I was truly alone. When she was the only person that I didn't have anymore up there, I genuinely had no one. And that's when I started like I guess trying to get in touch with all of the friends that I'd lost, created new relationships, and in those relationships is where I found friends that were making music as well. Imaginary Ambition and I don't know if you're familiar, he's a YouTuber. He's actually a really long time friend. We've known each other for a very, very, very long time, and he encouraged me to start making stuff, even if it was just for myself, even if it was just like therapeutic. And I did that in December. That's when I started doing that. And it was in March when I was just like, all right, I'm ready to take the plunge. Like I'm ready to quit this job. I'm ready to stop being in San Francisco. I'm ready to stop being sad. I'm ready to stop being alone. And that's kind of when I started living really. I mean, I moved here and almost immediately I started meeting everybody that I wanted to meet, and it just kind of happened. Like I didn't really line anything up. I haven't like gone around planning things. It's just like people have just come into my life that are now a part of it that I could never imagine. Like Lonely Music is that's the way that I got associated with them. They all kind of came to me. Not even really on purpose, but it just kind of happened, and now so many of the people in Lonely Music are genuinely part of my family.
One thing that I love about what you said is that, like, this whole experience, like, you don't regret any of it. Maybe it turns kind of sour at the end, but
Hmm.
like the whole journey itself, like, it's something that experience itself is like a treasure for you. It's like you learn a
Hmm.
lot of things from your experience, and how, like, from those experiences, like, you can actually learn a lot of new things. You find better people, then you get more stable about yourselves, like understanding, like, self-awareness, and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So I think that's such an interesting story about, how, because of the girl, but um things bad things happened, stuff. Sorry for your
I think the
loss
biggest
as well.
lesson that I took away
Oh,
from this is that so many of us struggle to consistently find love throughout our life. And I feel like we crave that love and we search for that love around us because we know what it feels like to be loved. We know, most of us at least, hopefully, we know what it feels like to have at least one person that has been kind to us and
mm,
has wanted good for us, and when we know what that feeling is like, we crave it consistently. And I think the problem is that we search for it around us all the time. but it's very difficult and also very rare for us to realize that we have to find that in ourselves. At the end of the day, love is not free. No one's gonna love you for free. And what I mean by that is, if you're alone and you're sad, you need to do work too. You need to be the one to reach out. You need to be the one to talk to people that you want to talk to. And it's scary because it makes you vulnerable and it makes you, kind of a target for what if they don't like me or what if they decide not to, be my friend. But at the end of the day, like, that's gonna happen either way. Like, if you're already alone, taking those risks, it's not a loss, and learning to love yourself while you're in that period of loneliness is the biggest thing that I can recommend to anyone, because learning to care about what you do for yourself and how you treat yourself is how other people are going to perceive you as well. And it took me 2 years to figure that out. And it was really, obviously, it was really painful and it was hard, but like you said, I don't regret any of it. I learned to care about myself, and I'm not, gonna preach and say that everything is great now, right? But I understand now that nothing lasts forever, not the good things or the bad things. And that's a really important thing to remember when you're going through the bad times, because when you're going through the bad times, you have to know they're gonna end at some point, you know?
And I think like your take about like craving for love, I think that's like a problem that I think our generation or maybe the generation below us are facing. Like
Hmm.
in order to cover up and hide their loneliness and insecurities, like they crave for love, thinking that
Hmm.
with that love from other people, like it can fulfill their emptiness in their hearts. And
Hmm.
like, I love seeing this. There was this visuals I saw like loving is not like a 50%. It's not like a half of a heart and another half of a heart, and then you
Hmm.
mix it and you combine it together, but it's like 100% full hearts and full hearts,
Hmm.
joining together. So it's like you're not finding others to like fulfill you, but you're, for example, in a relationship standpoint, like you actually are there for that someone, you support them fully, but that doesn't mean like you cannot live without them. Like, of course, yeah, dramatically, like, oh yeah, I cannot live without you and stuff like that. But like, don't I think the biggest message here, the one thing that, and it's just my opinion, is like we cannot hide up our insecurities by finding other people's love, and like I really need something to cover myself, like to cover my
Yeah.
insecurities. I think like that's the biggest problem with um us trying to find acceptance in other people, you know, and then you don't love yourself. And I think that's like a really big problem, right?
I think when you realize how to care for yourself, immediately you start realizing how to care for other people. And
Mm,
as soon as you do, that's when that love starts coming your way. Like, and it really does happen on its own. You can't force love out of anybody. But what you can do is you can choose to love them first, and you can choose to give as much as you can first. And you have to choose to give it freely, because it's so easy to give and expect things in return, but that's not how love works, man. And I think that the people that are around me know that about me. I think that they realize that I I don't want anything other than to be allowed to help, to be allowed to give, like, for the Houston show, for example, when I went, I didn't really know everybody in Lonely Music. I knew a couple of the people in Lonely Music. I knew Tekoy, I knew Snow, I knew Edward Prolific. But
mm,
I didn't know like Leyland or like Cozy Boy or like some of the other ones, because they were part of like a different kind of scene, and that was okay. And going and I knew that I had a skill that I wanted to use for them. I wanted to take pictures of their show. I wanted to take pictures of everybody and to get some really nice I don't know, some really nice moments for them, right? And I'd been doing that professionally for the longest time. I mean, that was my day job. But for them, like, I wanted to just do it out of passion, And I showed up and I took pictures and stuff and I delivered it to them and I sent them to all of them. And it was amazing, like, how a lot of them expected that this is something that I wanted to be rewarded for. And no, it's not. I just did it for you guys. I did it because I love you guys. You guys,
mm.
like, they took me into their home when I was in Houston. Like, they let me stay with them at their Airbnb, and I got to hang out with them. Like, a lot of them are very good friends of mine now. And it all started with me choosing to do something for them without expecting anything in return. And that's just an example of everything in life. It's just, if you give, someone is going to be willing to accept it and not take it. There's a difference between taking and accept, and there are people that will take and take and take, and nothing will ever fill up, and they will take advantage of your love. But there are people who will accept it and appreciate it, and appreciate you as a person for it. And those are the kind of people that you need to find. And I think that that's what I've found in Lonely Music, and even in other groups. I mean, there's so many artists around, not just that group, that are incredible, and have been a huge part of my journey.
And yeah, that's wisdom right there. I think like that's just well said. Like that's just super beautiful, man. But let's talk about lonely music. This is something that I really want to talk about with you.
Sure.
It's definitely one of my favorite collective out there. It consists of best like these are like the people that I listen to.
It's
Um,
so amazing. Yeah.
and you got Sabo Prolific, Powerful, Takeoy, Leyland, Essence. Everyone is there, right? And,
Hmm.
and and you're part of the family. So
I'm an honorary member. I think I'm actually the only person that the Lonely Music Collective like account follows that isn't a musician that's part of the collective. I joined it originally as a photographer, so
yeah, yeah, but like a photographer is also a part of the family,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
No, definitely.
yeah.
I'm definitely feel like I'm part of something. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to. Yeah,
Yeah. So like, can you give a little bit of insights of how did it all came together? Like, how did
sure.
only music happen?
It's crazy because I wasn't there in the early days. The funny thing is that Lonely Music has been around for a minute. And it just wasn't a collective that people were mentioning for a while. I don't think
Mm,
people really started mentioning it till Cyber Prolific, Sequoia, Snow, and Nukes all met in LA. That was the day that I met Cyber Prolific and Sequoia actually. Um, but yeah, they made a couple of studio songs, and they were like, all right, it's time. Let's make this thing big. Let's make Lonely Music the thing. And that's kind of when it started becoming the thing, and that's when the show started getting prepared and stuff. What's
mm,
crazy though is that I I knew about Vic Molina about a year ago or 2 years
mm.
ago almost actually, back when her cover of Justin Flores came out, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
everybody knows her for that, right?
yeah.
um, but like I never imagined that like she would end up being in a collective that I would have so much love for. Like it was completely random to me. Like it was a completely separate thing, right? And with Snow, for example, like I had heard so many things with Snow before on it. Before I even knew about Lonely Music, I actually took that beat with the Snow samples on the one that ended up becoming Sleepydead Part Two, right?
Mm,
Um, so I knew about these people, but I didn't know that they were all connected. So as I started noticing, like, oh wow, like they all know each other, they're all working together, and it started becoming bigger and bigger. The collective really started showing its face as a family. And there's a lot of artists that I still haven't met in the collective. There's a lot of them that are spread out like around the world. There's people in
mm.
Italy, we have people in, I think, Argentina, like just literally all over the world. And like it's very, very difficult that everyone will ever be in the same place at one point,
Yeah.
but that is the goal, I think. um and there's so much growth left to do. I mean, at this point, this is really just the beginning. This is just like the first year of Lonely Music as a mainstream collective, or not a mainstream, but like as a something that wants to be shown to everyone.
Yeah,
um
and wow, yeah, and it's super amazing, seeing this, like how did it all, like especially what happened in Houston, right? The
mhm,
showcase. Um, I'm from Indonesia, so it's really far from Houston.
mhm.
But I wish I was there, but I saw a lot of your photos here, right? And the videos as well, and I was like, "Damn, I wish I was there, but like,
Mhm.
just maybe next time, maybe one day soon. Um, but so the collective itself is way before the showcase happened.
Yes. Yes, it wasn't formed like for the showcase or anything like that. It was actually in the progress of being made. And at this point, I don't want to speak too much on it just because I don't know all of the details.
Right.
I do know that the people that know the most about it are obviously the people that started it. And I think that starts with Tekoi, but it moves on to like Essence and I think Thomas Reed were some of the first people that were like, hey, we should do this. Um so it does go a while back, long before I ever joined any of this stuff. So I don't know all of the details of its formation, but I do know that for the show for Houston, it was really just everyone combining their heads, man. Like everyone just
Mm.
like the whole show happened, because everyone knew exactly what to do and say at the right time. And it's just like that kind of cohesiveness and that kind of like bonding is so like unheard of,
Mm.
especially among such a new generation. Like it's very jarring to me, like being from an older generation and seeing like how energized and how active like like this new generation is about doing things and making things and getting things done. And it's not even just like as a work thing. Like these people are passionate about what they do. They have so much love for the stuff that they make. Being in Houston, it wasn't just about the show. Like people were recording like the whole time. People were making things. A lot of songs actually that you've heard come out after the show were actually recorded at the show. Uh, I
Wow.
remember, yeah, one of my favorite ones that I was there for the recordings of was "All Again" by Nukes and Powerful
Mm.
and Snow. It was so funny because it wasn't even like a recording setup. We literally just set up mics and just sang into them. And the way that like they were able to create these amazing songs out of snippets, out of moments, uh, that's insane. Like that's something that
Wow.
I'd never seen or heard of before. Like that kind of
Yeah.
like dedication is so cool, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know that. So it was actually from the recording of the showcase.
Yeah, yeah. At the beginning of the song, you hear Nukes and Snow talking. It's a conversation we were having
Ah.
at the Airbnb. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's such a great insight.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very cool.
yeah, so what were your favorite moments from the show?
I mean, watching some of the people that I'd been a fan of for so long perform was so cool. Like that alone was
Mm.
honestly fulfilling, right? I had been listening to Sadway Prolific and Powerful a lot, especially in the days coming up to the show. Sadway Prolific, I had started listening to back in March, actually, right after I dropped Sleepydead. My first contact with him was actually random. I posted a snippet of something I was working on my Instagram story, and he and I tagged him. I was like, somebody tell him to hop on this. And he didn't even follow me or anything yet, and I
Mhm.
sent that, and he saw it, and immediately like he clicked with me, and he was like, "Yo, send me that," and he shared it on his story, followed me back, and from there on, we'd just been like talking and connecting and stuff, and like to finally show up in Houston and like to be in this place with all these people and like see them perform the songs that had helped me through so much and have formed a lot of my own style and like all of that. I mean, it was so cool. I best believe I was like singing along to every
Yeah.
Sad but Prolific song up there, and
Uh,
and it was even cooler, like being the photographer, like getting to be on stage and like actually getting to be part of the moment and like all of those things. I mean, it was really cool. Looking back, I'd say that one of my favorite moments, and it's not a very happy moment now, but at the time, it was a very, very, very happy moment. Was when I think it was Palfu that decided to put on "Lucid Dreams" by Juice World,
oh,
uh,
yeah.
just kind of as a breaker, just between like performances, so people could take a breather. But it was funny
Mm.
because instead of taking a breather, everyone got hyped, right? Everyone got on stage at the same time,
Yeah.
like all of Lonely Music was on stage at the same time, and we just all just screamed the lyrics out to that song, and it was such a cool moment to have this one thing where we were all, sharing it. We were all performing
Oh,
it. We were all hanging out, and it was that was probably my favorite moment looking back. It's a bit bittersweet now, um, but if anything, it makes it that much more meaningful. You know.
wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. So let's go back to you now. Let's go back to Ari. So,
All right.
um, um, you were talking about uh, toxic environments.
Mhm,
Um, I think toxic environments and toxic relationships, toxic friendships are diseases. Like it's something that, and I think one of the most intriguing things about it is that people don't realize that they are actually in a toxic environment,
mhm,
and they thought that it's like they got the best people with them, and actually they're people who are discouraging, people who are not supporting, and
mhm.
who don't bring optimism but pessimism, like with their lives. And what are your thoughts about toxic environments, and how do you deal with toxic people? Quote unquote?
Um. Oh man. Okay. So. this is something I struggled with a lot myself because I mean, I feel, and I'm sure that we all have a little bit of this to ourselves. I'm sure some people are way more, maybe not uncaring. Not the word uncaring isn't the word, but a little less like invested in trying to please everyone, right? But we all have a little bit of that. We all have a little bit of trying to please the people around us because we're human. Like if you're denying that you want people to like you, you're lying because you
Mhm.
want that. We all want that, you know? Some people are just better at dealing with not being liked. Uh, but for me, I think that dealing with toxic environments, the most dangerous thing about it is when you're a person that really wants to be liked, when you're a person that just really wants or craves love, it's so easy to get yourself trapped into relationships, friendships, living situations, whatever, where it feels like home. It feels like what it is. And at the end of the day, we all know that nothing is perfect. So we trick ourselves into thinking, well, nothing is perfect. It's not like it's going to be better if I quit on this. And I think that that is the worst mindset to trap yourself into. I think that the best way to go about things is if you're not happy about something, don't like if you've already put in an effort to fix it, there's no point in staying. You have to do something else. And it's hard because choosing to leave home, choosing to leave the people that you're used to, despite how terrible they might be for you, it's hard because at the end of the day, I don't think that anybody's a bad person. Even the people that are toxic to us, you look back, they're probably not meaning or like trying to be awful people. They're hurt, just like we are, and they're going through something just like we are. The difference is that they're choosing not to be helped. They're choosing not to be better. They're choosing to put out their frustrations and their angers, the ones that we all share, into hate and into being mean and into putting other people down. And when you see those traits, you have to steer clear of them because those kinds of people don't want to be helped. They don't want to be better. They don't want to be a part of something. They don't want to. They just don't want in general. They'd rather stay the way that they are, and it sucks. It sucks seeing that, and it sucks wanting to help. But it's also important to realize that you can't help everyone, and that you have to help yourself.
Yeah, that's such an interesting perspective. When you said that, like, why people become toxic sometimes it's just about perspectives, right? And
Hmm.
maybe they're facing true difficulties and problems that we will never understand. But at some point we know that we need to let them go, because it's necessary for us. Like, you cannot help
Hmm.
others if you cannot help yourself first. So I think that's a unique take of how you brought that up. Um, Talking
Well, just
about.
like love, no one's gonna love you if you don't love yourself first.
Mm,
And I know everyone always says that, but it's true, and like when you don't know what you love about yourself, other people don't see it either. And that's why it's so important to focus on loving yourself, because loving yourself doesn't just mean like, okay, I've decided that I like myself as a person. No, that doesn't mean that. No one's just gonna love themselves as a person immediately. We all
mm,
have faults, and we all have issues, and we all have things that we wish we could do better. But loving yourself is choosing to be that guardian for yourself and choosing to be that person that forces you to do the right thing. I know that a lot of us grew up in like maybe unconventional situations as far as family go. Like a lot of us either grew up without parents or with parents who weren't ours or with not just very attentive parents. Whatever the case may be, like we've all struggled with like not having a guardian tell us what to do. But at the end of the day, when we become adults, when we become, independent, that's what you have to be. You have to be your own parent, and being your own parent. And I mean like a good parent, not the kind of parent that lets you do whatever you want, but the kind of parent that says, hey, you need to do this and it's going to hurt and it's going to be rough, but it's part of growth. And the hardest part of that is as an adult, because you don't have someone to tell you those things, you have to be the one to force yourself to do them. You have to be the one that forces yourself to, realize, hey, I have a problem. Maybe I should go to therapy. Or, hey, this relationship that I'm in is bad. Maybe I should choose to break up. Like those kinds of things are the kinds of things that our parents should have been doing for us as we were growing. And if they did, that's amazing. You had great parents. If they
mm.
didn't, like it's harder to learn that, and it's harder to raise yourself. But I think that a lot of people, especially artists, know how to do that well, or at least are trying. I'm sure that you recognize a lot of the artists that you follow, especially in the music, are very young. But they're they're very, very mature for their ages. I mean, they had to take care of themselves, and I feel like that is the thing that connects me with them the most, is that I also had to take care of myself my entire life, and I also had to kind of bring myself up and create something for myself, and you know, I see that in them, and that's one of the reasons I try to support and love them as much as I can, because I know that at the end of the day we all need that. We all need at least one unconditional person to love us, and it's very hard when especially when you have fans, going from one day where you don't feel appreciated and you don't feel like people
Yeah.
love you and you don't feel like they care, and then the next day everyone tells you that you're amazing and everyone tells you that you're the best. It's such a confusing feeling. Even to me as an adult, it's such a confusing feeling. As a teenager, I can't imagine how it must have felt. So I think it's very important for me to I don't know. I choose to be as responsible as I can about
Mm,
trying to do good for other people, because I feel like that's what I wish someone had done for me.
yeah, beautiful. It's just I don't know what to say, man. Um, guard yourself, right? Loving yourself
Yeah,
means being the guardian of yourself, and
means
loving
being your
is
own parent.
yeah, being your own parent means that you don't just do the things that is like for the short term, right?
Hmm.
But you understand like what you need to do in order for you to grow, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes you gotta discipline yourself. If this is not the right thing for you, maybe it's time to let go. And it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be difficult, but it's necessary, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that was just such a really awesome. That was such a beautiful message. I don't know what to say.
Well,
Um,
thank you. Thank you.
and I think there are a lot of good advices there. So I think like for everyone out there listening, I hope you guys and girls like all wrote down wrote down some notes because those are really wisdom, man. Um,
I hope someone takes something away from it. I really do. Like, at the end of the day, like that's why I feel like a lot of why we make stuff that we make is exactly for that. We want people to take something away from the lives that we live, because we all live such different lives, and maybe apply it to their own. Maybe learn from my mistakes, learn from my pains and whatever, and how I got through them, and maybe they can help.
Yeah. And yeah, before we end the podcast, maybe do you have any advices for people out there, maybe young people, the younger generation?
Advice. um
Yeah.
well, I'm not going to pretend to have everything sorted out, and I'm definitely not going to pretend to be some kind of like huge artist that I want people to look up to, because it's not really what I'm focusing on. But what I do want people to take away from this all is that you can do it. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. I I don't think of anything in the world that you want to do that you can't. And if someone tells you that you can't, that's they're wrong.
Mm,
It's hard. Nothing is easy. Nothing is easy. Nothing is just going to be served or handed down to you. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that you feel like that happens to. A lot of people just feel like, well, other people are just born with money and loving parents and all of those
mm,
things. And that's true. They have those things, but that doesn't make them happy. At the end of the day, you find happiness in yourself. You can find happiness in any situation. And if creating something is something that can help you, do it. I cannot stress enough how much, if you want to start making music, the best thing, or the first thing that you need to do, is to just decide to do it. Once you've decided to do it, nothing can stop you.
mm.
And that's the best advice that I can give, is if you want to do something, and it's going to be good for you, and it won't hurt other people, just do it. There's nothing else to life other than trying to find happiness. That's really, in my opinion, the purpose to life, is to bring as much happiness as you can to yourself and to the people around you. And that means everyone around you, not just the people you like, but even the people you don't like. At the end of the day, everyone deserves happiness.
Well said. Well said. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. I think
You
like
can do it.
that's something that actually I want to like keep saying to myself like you can do it. You got this. You can
Hmm.
trump this. You can do this. It's just awesome. So you got any shout outs or messages for anyone out there before we end the podcast?
Totally. I'm gonna shout you out, man. I want to thank you for
Oh,
everything that you do. Seriously, like I've spoken to you about this before, but I want everyone to know that, like, dude, you're probably one of the most, if not the most supportive person with a platform right now in the lo-fi scene, and everything that you do for us is so appreciated. And we know we talk about you all the time, and whenever we see a video of someone we know go up, like it makes us so excited. And honestly, like you just mean so much to us and to the whole lo-fi community. And um sure, I want to say hello to everyone from Lonely Music. I hope you guys like what I said about you guys. I love you all so much. You guys are the best. Shout out to Neb for being my day one and for even making this happen. I don't think I'd be here without him. Um, and shout out to all the people that are also not feeling their best today. You know, it will get better. And all you have to do is believe that you're going to get better, and you just have to do something good for yourself, for someone else, anything. It will make you feel better and you will get through it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man. Take care. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, and thank you for the shout out as well. I definitely will continue to do my best, and we're gonna do big projects in the future. Aiming for that.
Thank you. That's awesome. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, yeah. And I was also like to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for sticking up until the end. I hope you guys get value, get something. You learned something new today. I learned a lot of new things, learned a lot of wisdom from this conversation. So I hope you do as well. And don't forget to love yourself. Don't forget to spread positivity everywhere you go. I hope you guys have a good day. See y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You say that you love me, do you really mean that? I'm not sure, but I think you do. I say that I love you, do I really mean that? I'm not sure, but I think I do. All we do is fight till the nighttime time, and we're sick and tired of it. All you do is whine while I sigh, and we're sick and tired of it.
Every time at night I call, I hear back in the morning. Even when I'm begging and I'm swearing it's important. My breathing is erratic and my skin's looking pale. Girl, call me up a doctor cause your boy ain't feeling well. Oh, baby girl, I miss you, really wanna kiss you. Always get excited when I hear your name. Give me another redo, baby, let me pique your interest. You really make me go insane. I'll say some dumb shit, girl, please don't repeat it. I'll tweet some mean things, so please never read. I'll post a lit story and then I'll delete it. We fake a persona, so never believe us.
You love me, do you really mean that? I'm not sure, but I think you do. I say that I love you, do I really mean that? I'm not sure, but I think I do. All we do is fight till the nighttime time, and we're sick and tired of it. All you do is whine while I sigh, and we're sick and tired of it.
I can find my own way, so I'm lost from much further. Stuck in the mud, but you chasing inertia. Blood on my hands, you mistake it for love. You are the reason the world spins untouched. Flowers and petals, they wither at touch. Discussing betrayal like it wasn't much. Sadness corrupted, the grave was all dark. But we will meet one day when the sun come up.
You say that you love me, do you really mean that? I'm not sure, but I think you do. I say that I love you, do I really mean that? I'm not sure, but I think I do. All we do is fight till the nighttime time, and we're sick and tired of it. All you do is whine while I sigh, and I'm fucking tired of it.
Whoa.